that are concerned with the dharma, concerned with the wisdom, and then you have the practice of generosity. So these kind of structures, I think that's what really creates this overflowing environment. You know, that really, because the well is on the ground. You cannot find the well on the top of the skyscraper. You know, it doesn't matter how much it costs, right? The well is very deep down in the dirt of the people. So that's kind of where I'm looking to for the Dhamma development. But I have a lot more to do in myself before I can work with it. Because when you get the great wealth, the great power, it's like a chains. You know, many people, poor men, they think, oh, if only I can be very wealthy and have a nice clothes and a nice house, etc. But it's just like putting something else on top of them. Underneath, they will still have the same suffering, the same problem. Only now maybe they're causing more problems out in the world because they have more power. So I'm trying to develop myself forward before I... Okay, let's eat. Nuclear bomb. Any moment, every moment is like that. Whether we understand it or don't understand it, that is the nature. So what the monk is representing, whether they have a lot of wisdom or not, the structure that the monk represents is this recognition of wisdom, and also this, we pay homage to wisdom. We surrender to wisdom. We put our head to the floor to wisdom, not to the personal identity of the monk or the nun or the Buddha, because once the Buddha get enlightenment, he is not Siddhartha Gautama anymore. He is awake. So we pay respect to that awakening quality, but we also have to see the structure and the system inside of ourselves and in the society. So this is a problem a lot of people get wrong, is they don't find the middle way with this. So then we have all these people who convince themselves, especially in America or Western country, convince themselves they have the perfect enlightenment, they have the ultimate understanding. And this just creates the pride. So the pride is the last thing to go. When you are arahant, or when you are fully enlightened, you don't have any more pride. But all up until that, even though you're very pure, you're very wise, you're very compassionate, amazing, right? The kind of most amazing person in the world, still you have a pride, which means that little sense of separation, or that little sense of self that kind of recognizes itself. So it appreciates itself, right? But the arahant, it is no self recognizing no self. It is nothingness embodied, right? Completely. So the tradition of the monks and the robes and this kind of culture is very important to maintain, because if we lose this culture, the only other option is that everyone is practicing meditation so seriously and living a certain kind of way of life so seriously that there are enlightened people everywhere. But that really is not realistic. So this tradition, which is not separate from Hinduism, also we need to understand that the Buddha was a sadhu in the time. Even to call it Hinduism is not really accurate, right? But Siddhartha Gautama became a sadhu in ancient India, and if you want, you can say that is the Hindu ancient India, and then he became the most successful sadhu ever, right? Where his monks, his tradition, his sect go out into Thailand, into China, into Korea, into Japan, and become so successful, you know. And now also Goenkaji, he continued that in this branch. And you can't find where is the single emperor or single king that 2,000 years later is still have a kingdom, or is still held above all other men, all other people of that time. It's only the Buddha. So it's a really deep question. I gave a short talk at the Vikuni Day event in the last night, and really nice event. And I'm speaking about this question of what is the monastic life going to look like for modern India. And we have the same question in America. What does it look like for modern Americans to become monks? What does it look like for modern Indian people to become monks? And for me, I see it's not something that I want to lose. It is traditional. It is in some ways conservative. It is coming from a very old time, an old way of viewing things, but it's very useful. And if we don't have that tradition and that sacrifice, and also the representation of that sacrifice, even if people don't live up to it, then it just kind of fizzles out. It becomes more and more forgotten, more and more lost.
The modern time, along with the negative factors, like as Guruji always said, or Sayaji always said, they in Burma they call it the Mar, M-A-A-R. Mar is, you could say, negativities, which always ride along with positivity and try to override the positive factors. But of course, the positive ultimately is victorious. And most of us, we find that, okay, when I'm doing my meditation, there is so many negative factors trying to pull you out of it, that the person should not get into dharma. And these negative factors, at times, in today's world, supersedes most of the time over the people. That's what is concerning, that the negativity which is spreading across in such a strong manner, but at the same time, people like you, people like Guruji, Nandi, and people who are going ahead with the path of Dharma, they are pushing the positive factors which ultimately take its time. How do we really, as this one, come out of or really overcome the self against negative factors? For example, when I'm meditating, myself, like there'll be shakiness all the time, trying to break my concentration, and that's been okay. I'm equanimous. I'm trying to remain as this, but then the stability of the mind, the positivity of the mind, it takes time for it to, even though I'm today 65, I've been going not so very regular, as she's been more regular. But whenever I'm doing meditation, I find there'll be something to distract my concentration all the time. I try to override it. Still there'll be something trying to override my concentration. Or my automatically, it's like a spark, a spark, and then the whole body shakes. The pinching of toes and fingers and things like that. It's quite a phenomenon that happens to me especially all the time. So I feel it's more of the negative factors that is overriding every now and then, not allowing me to concentrate more into it. As now I feel that I have to, after 65 plus, I always had in mind that I move more into the Dharma.
Well, the Dhamma is such that we understand, we have been taught, we have experienced that this problem can be solved. That the biggest problem is inside of yourself, for sure. And you know this because you are successful. So it doesn't matter how comfortable you are, the biggest problem is always inside of yourself. Or we go to the 10-day retreat and everything is taken care of, we don't need to think about anything, food and shelter and sleep, and everything is fine. So the biggest problem is within ourselves. And we know how to fix that problem because we've experienced it. right? That is the Dhamma. So how do we make this bigger, right? How do we go down the road of the Dhamma, not just for ourselves, but also for the others?
Yes, but unless and until I'm able to walk self, how do I support others, or how do I push others? So the most important is no doubt, it's the collective efforts that wisdom works with. But the initiative is the understanding that unless and until I myself walk on the path of Dharma, how can I push others into the Dharma?
You yourself, ultimately, walking on the path of Dhamma is to detach from yourself. And that is what the robe is representing. That is what the sensitivity of offering the food, of paying respect, of these kinds of things is about. Because we are willing to detach from ourselves. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, about the living in the lay life, or having the husband, having the children, having the kind of relationships like that. When you are to detach from yourself, you don't believe in that. Even you get involved in that, you don't believe in that, right? And so a lot of the times we're approaching spirituality, right? And we're approaching some monk or some guru. If we're lucky, we get to try, to talk to someone. And there is a sense of we want to be convinced, or we are convinced, or we don't want to be convinced, right? Does this person know? Do they not know? Do they have can they help? Can they not help? All of this kind of thing, right?
Yes,
But actually, what this is representing, what this is talking about, is to be convinced of not being convinced. To be open that we don't need to grasp onto something at all. That grasping is the problem, right? Grasping is the root of the self, of the someone, of the something, of the someplace, of the sometime. But that is like the Dhamma revolution or the wisdom revolution. So it's many different teachers take different approaches about how to guide that and how to work with that, how to organize that. If we look from the wrong point of view, the attachment point of view, we will see Goenkaji, and we will say, oh, this is perfect. This is perfectly right. This is perfectly correct. This is exactly what is needed to be done, right? In the same way, if we look at it and say, oh, this is wrong, this is not correct, this is lacking something, this needs to be changed or fixed, both of these are not the middle way. It's still grasping to the judgment, to the duality. So when we come to the middle, it's a non-duality or no duality. And that is just the opportunity.
From from the whole family, is everything from my family, my daughter family, everybody.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.